add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Snajvi Show. We have a little bit of a different scene today because I'm sitting with Sharon and I'm really excited about this one. Someone actually asked me to bring Sharon onto the show, and this is an amazing opportunity for me to showcase her and spend some time talking about her. So Sharon, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. So the very first question I wanted to kind of jump straight into is going to be this. Like, who are you? And tell us a little bit more of what you do.
Okay, I am a coach here at Athletics. I'm a CrossFit trainer as well as the kids coach. And weightlifting is one of the things I really enjoy coaching, so I get to do that here as well. Been here since day one, so it's almost 5 years. It's a place I really enjoy working, and we have a fantastic community and team. So that's what I'm doing now. This is what I do full time. It's not how it's been though. It's not how I started. I had a real job, 9 to 5 job.
I love the real job.
The real job when I first started here, and slowly but surely this became my full time. It's always been, fitness has always been something I've been in for the last now 20 years. So to be doing it full time and doing what I love in this capacity it's a dream come true. I'm living the life.
There you go. And I feel like a lot of people that know me and know about athletics and know about everything, they've kind of seen you around, and especially in the last, I would say 3 to 6 months, maybe 6 months, you have substantially come out with the Athletics Kids. And for those of you who don't already follow Athletics Kids on Instagram, you should really check it out because one, it's informative. It is. You can learn a lot from it. You can learn for your own kids, but also if you ever want to bring them here, you get to see what you kind of do with them. So I want to kind of touch on why the Athletics Kids program, because I'm not exactly the most kid-friendly person, but you are, and that's why I have Sharon as well, because she's all the things that I'm not. But tell us a little bit more about how that came about and why.
Well, I don't know where it started because working with kids isn't something that I planned. It really isn't. Fitness is something that I started teaching at a conventional gym over 20 years ago. It's always been adults. Never taught a kids class in my life. And I've also never been someone so inclined to kids. I like kids, but it wasn't something that I planned on doing in the future. The way that it came about is that I do love learning. And one of the CrossFit courses is kids. CrossFit. And I thought, why not? Let me do that. So maybe something I could do here. But at that point, I can honestly say I didn't think it would become what it has become. And by that, I mean, these kids that we have now, they started at age 7, 8, and now they're going into their preteens. And the development, the growth, the confidence, the safe environment has just been something that we've grown with together. I don't know if a kids class is something you plan to have when you open this gym. I don't know if that's something you envisioned, but I didn't when I first started here.
Yeah,
I didn't even think that that's something that we would do, but it came about. It's almost like they came to us and we needed that. We needed that tenderness part of, what the kids bring. They're just so inspirational and they're a great group. And I love to pour what I can teach them. I just love to see that development, that growth.
Yeah.
Yesterday we had Curtis. He's been with us since he was 8, and he was doing kipping pull-ups in a workout with so much confidence. Where before, his pull-ups didn't have the strength, and how he has developed through the years is phenomenal. And for us, for athletics to be a part of that is an honor.
Yeah.
So to me, I think if I could wrap it in a nutshell, it's an honor and a huge privilege to be a part of these kids' lives. We're the first ones to teach them movement. That's a big responsibility, and one that I take wholeheartedly with big responsibility. So that's how that came about, and now it's a big part of athletics. So.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think I remember kind of where some of the parents would ask me to coach their kids in soccer. And I think it kind of was I was like, yeah, but they would benefit a lot from the gym. And I feel like that's kind of how it segued into things like this, because a lot of the time people would ask me what did I do when I was younger? And I remember wanting to go to the gym. For my 13th birthday, I asked for a gym membership. And I really wanted to join the gym because I wanted to be like my brother, and I just really wanted to be one of those strong, confident young athletes. Like that's what I really wanted. And now when I look back and I see, like, I was still starting at 13, and now we're seeing that kids are starting at 7, 8 years old, which is even younger. But back then you weren't allowed. You know, it was one of those young girls don't lift. They will stunt their growth. It's bad for them. And all of these kind of misconceptions that's out there. But now when I look at programs like what we run here, when I look at programs that other people do, I'm like, damn, I wish that that existed when I was younger. And I would love to know your story of when you were younger and if you experienced anything like that. Because I remember when I went into the gym, I would just pretend like my brother's in there and lie to the front desk and say, yeah, like my brother's in there, he's going to say, and then I would just go and do the routine that I knew he did. So it's kind of like what was my thing. And I mean, I did the most basic of basics. I didn't learn high skill, and I really wish I did. I really do, because I would just go there and do some leg press and some leg extensions and maybe some other machine. And I'd be like, yeah, cool, I'm getting fit and getting healthy. But really that didn't translate to life, because you're doing machines. It's very different when you're doing functional movement. So I'd love to know your take on when you were a kid, if you did anything like that, and any experiences that you can share.
As a kid, I did not have any type of fitness class. Not until a neighbor of mine invited me to her softball team, and I was allowed to do that. And by allowed, I mean, in my home, I grew up in an environment that was very suppressive. You know, it was very abusive, and there wasn't a lot of, family involvement in that sense where let's get the kids involved in some type of sport. And with that, in that environment, that subservient environment, you just do what you are told, you follow the rules, and that is it. I mean, you don't ask, can I go do this? Because you'll be shut down. So I didn't have that, introduction to fitness. However, it was through fitness that I kind of coped with my environment. So I would go and play basketball by myself outside. We had a basketball court until I was just drenched in sweat. I didn't even know how to play basketball. And then I'm going to date myself here. Back then, we had VHSs.
Yeah,
and
right on.
we had videos, yeah, big old cassettes. And I don't know how I got a hold of Kathy Smith. You probably don't even know who that
I don't
is.
even know, but I know what videos are.
Okay.
I had VHS. If you guys didn't have VHS, like, damn.
And Kathy Smith was she was like the Jane Fonda of the 90s.
Oh yeah, there you go.
And that's when the step aerobics piece
Yes.
came in. And I would do step aerobics till I was sweaty in my living room.
All right, we'll save it for another time. That we'll actually ask Sharon to demonstrate all of them.
Yes, I could do the do-si-do and all of that crossover.
Yes.
But that's where it began. I would literally use any
Wow.
step at home to, do this exercise. Didn't know at the time that that's what I was doing. I was exerting energy in an area that just made me feel good. And it kind of became a habit.
Wow.
Through life. So I wasn't really a part of team sports or classes in that sense. It wasn't until later on in life, I became a part of a police academy. I think that was my first, involvement in a huge team sport where I was like led through something. But I always pushed myself in fitness, even as a kid, until I was sweaty, until I was sore, and that just kind of carried on.
Yeah,
life.
that really has.
It really has.
That makes so much sense, because like sometimes I look over at Sharon during a workout, I'm like, is she gonna die? Like, she really does. She pushes herself. If you ever seen her work out, if you ever work out with her, she just pushes and pushes and pushes until like the final straw. So it's really cool to see where that started. That's crazy.
Where it started, and I think that's what attracts me to CrossFit, because you're put through so much adversity, and you are really, you really get humbled with these workouts, and I love that about CrossFit. So that's how I came to fitness through my childhood. It was just kind of something I coped with, I guess, and took with me, and
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like you are healing the inner child that didn't get what you currently give these kids.
Yeah, you just don't know what your past will bring you to. Like I said, it wasn't something I planned, but it has just evolved into this incredible honor, love, interest to, help these kids grow and move and understand. Like, I wish I knew at a young age how to lunge, how to squat, how to do something so basic as to brace my core, understand what it feels like to have control of my body.
Yeah.
Basic, just kids now I don't think they know that. Our kids do.
Yeah.
And wow, like what a huge honor. Like they'll be able to transfer that when they go to high school weightlifting room, they'll know. When they're in a sport, they'll know. When they're an adult and they decide to go to a CrossFit gym, they'll know.
Yeah.
And we get to be a part of that. So
That's amazing.
I know it's a big,
That's a big
privilege.
deal. So, I mean, transferring that across to adults now, because I feel like you have, I mean, let's be real, she has the most complex people out there, all right? And I really hope at least one of them is listening. Because when we are given, and we get to also receive.
Yeah.
The people that require us as coaches the most, like there is something about us that they are missing in themselves that we can then offer. And, the complexity of the characters that you have, I would love to know why you get these specific people, but it's usually the energy, right? We draw in sometimes the opposing energy. Like I'm pretty high intensity, and sometimes I get the complete opposite of a softer person, and I have to kind of meet them in the middle. So it just kind of depends, but I would love to know, like, how do you transition from kids who are just like high energy, high this, to like short attention, to then an adult who is just dealing with so much? Like, how do you transition that?
I think that it has taken many years of working on myself. And by that I mean I can be that person full of rage, but I can also be a very soft person. And the way that all started in my childhood, I was a very, very rebellious, violent, angry person. And I didn't know how to exude anything else but that, because it was all suppressed. I wasn't allowed to express it. Therefore, I found fitness. So through the years, I knew that was not right. I don't know how that translated in my young teenage year, but I knew that it wasn't right, and I didn't want to be like that. But when you grow up in an environment like that, you don't know any better. There are certain developmental aspects of you that don't develop. You stay immature in your young years. And so you do stupid shit. You just do stupid things, and you portray your energy in negative ways, like I did. That was a choice. There's a lot of things that I did I'm not proud of. So I have been that person that has been violent, abusive. I've been kicked out of every high school in Fullerton, every single high school in Fullerton, even the continuation school. Wow. The continuation school, where you go when you don't do well in regular school. It's me. Like, that was me. And so I understand that person.
Yeah.
But I'm not that person anymore, and I never was. Like later on in my adult years, I understood I was never meant to be that person. Who I am now is who I'm meant to be. I am a kind, confident, trustworthy, person that just wants to be a good human. I've always wanted to be that, because I always had that remorse, right? So I think the reason why I attract people like that is perhaps I just almost subdue my energy when I meet them.
Yeah.
I just subdue it. Like I get blinded in it. I don't allow it to affect me, if you will. If someone's rude, through the years, I'm telling you, like 20, 30 years of development, it all started with a book that my father gave me called As a Man Thinketh. Never touched it, right? And ironically, my dad, even though we didn't have the best relationship growing up, he was someone who taught me so much about integrity, hard work, giving someone something better than they gave it to you. All of these things, and his mindset was, don't be a loser. Yet, I was, doing all of these things that he categorized as losers. But through that book, it started to plant seeds, and I didn't pick it up. I didn't actually open it up until later on, almost, when Lizzie was born. I had her when I was 27. Now I'm 49. So through there, it was just book, seminars, people, new group of friends, making more mistakes, feeling bad, correcting it. It was just been this back and forth. And that's what I attribute, my character to have now to what it is. is the self-awareness that through the years I've created. Every year it gets better. Like every year it gets better. I get better. You think, your best years are your 20s or your 30s. It's really when you're tired of like you've had enough and now you want to become this person who you've always wanted to be, right? And there's no more distractions. I don't have little kids, almost a grandchild, but I don't have little kids to distract me anymore. Meaningful relationships are more important to me now. They're open. So now you're like, I want to be this incredible human being. And so you start to do things to improve your self-development. So to answer your question, why I attract people like that, perhaps is I can see on the outside. I can see their hurt. I can see when they, I guess, are frustrated or they act the way they do or they do the things they do. I can understand 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah, you would be appalled to the choices I've made in my life. Like when someone tells me they've done certain things, I'm like, no. And it's just all through your own rebellion, your own rage of traumas that you've had in your life. And if self-awareness isn't something that you start to develop, doesn't matter what age, but as you get older, you will continue that path. And people think as they get older, things get worse. No, you just gave up. You just lost sight. And you just continued to live on auto. Yeah. And that's what I don't want. So when I see someone, I get a client who's on auto. I don't know, they're completely stressed or they're very angry. I'm like, I see it. This is how they've chosen to continue to live. Like they don't see the light. And in order to see the light, you have to have someone to guide you.
Yeah.
You have to have a coach. You have to have a therapist. You have to have whatever, someone, or books. You can go through this healing on your own. But you have to be willing to say, whoa, I just hurt someone's feeling by what I said. I'm going to be more aware of that. And it's just a day-by-day awareness of who you are.
Yeah.
If you don't have that self-awareness, you are screwed for the rest of your life. You will live on auto and you will continue to do and be where you are. Yeah. One day after the next, after the next, after the next. So when you start to have that self-awareness, I ask the universe or your higher power to use me as someone who is going to change lives. And that's exactly what you get. People who need you, people who need your experience, your energy, your compassion, your understanding. So I think that's why I get.
Yeah. It's almost like you kind of like lead the way though for them. Like you're showing them what is possible. So as they come to you and they come to you, I guess like broken or, bruised, whatever it is. But when they come to you and they see that it is possible. And it's almost like you are the possibility to what type of person that they can be if they choose.
If they choose. That's right.
And that's the thing, right? We can never make someone do anything. And I talk about this all the time. You really have to walk your own path. And while you're walking your own path, you can have someone there guiding you, but they're not walking your path. They're just guiding you on where to go. It's up to you to take the turns. Yeah. It's up to you to make the decisions, the choices, and align that with the behavior necessary for you to actually improve your path and continue it going up. So it's really cool that I've seen that. I've seen the transformations you've made with so many people that you work with. I think that's really cool. And like you mentioned so many, and like Sharon's told me a little bit about some of the stories, and you guys are probably going to be crazy for some of them. Can you share one?
What I've done?
Yeah, one thing. You choose.
Okay. Well, one of the reasons why I was kicked out of high schools is because, like I mentioned, I was a very aggressive person. I went to Catholic school my entire year, K through 6, or through junior high, and then I went to a high school where it was public. I had the freedom to go from class to class. No one was going to tell me where to go. No one was going to watch me. So I would just find the most mischievous friends. It's like I attracted them. And, kind of became very much, even though I was never a part of a gang, very much gang-minded. What are you looking at? You just give me, I was just this dormant volcano ready to erupt from, just my own environment at home. And One of the reasons why I got kicked out is because someone gave me the wrong look. She probably wasn't even aware of it. And I asked her, what you looking at?
Yeah.
And she said, what? And that's all she had to say. And so it's not funny. I fought her and pounded her head into the concrete, and that's what got me expelled.
Damn.
I know.
That is pretty bad.
That's pretty bad. Then I did the same
Was
thing.
she okay?
Yeah, she was
Good.
okay.
Okay.
Then same thing
Yeah.
at the other one, at the other high school. Same thing,
And people are going to be like, what?
Yep. And I was very irresponsible. I've been in jail, through my irresponsibility of being rebellious. I just did not care. And it was all due to stupid stuff. Just driving, with not having my lights on in my car, getting a ticket, didn't care about paying it, didn't care about showing up in court. I remember, that day so well, my dad having to pick me up. And, I had my head up, cocked, like, what are you going to say? There's so much rage that I had that I just didn't care at all, at all. And when my life changed? When I had my first daughter.
Yeah, that was my next question. When did it shift?
It was like a flip of the switch. I enrolled in college. I, went to college. I brought her with me. They had a child care center. I graduated college. Just didn't have a car at the time. It was just like this. The Sharon that I am now started there.
Wow.
Started there. Had it not been for that event in my life, I don't know what would become of me, because I was just on this path. I never did drugs, never, committed crimes in that sense, but I ended up in jail for really stupid stuff, for just infractions, driving infractions, not caring.
Yeah, wow.
I'm so responsible now that you wouldn't even think.
Yeah.
That's me.
So when was at what age did you have your first daughter?
17.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you went straight to school with that. That's a pretty young age to even make that flip of the switch, because you hear about people that do have kids super young.
Yep.
And they just don't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah.
And so there must have been that inner side of you must have been wanting to come out.
Yeah.
It's almost like you having that kid was just like,
that was it. That was honestly what just switched my mentality, my perspective.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I finished high school with her. I went to a special high school for teen moms.
Wow.
And I finished high school with Janice, who's now going to be a mother herself. There was a nursery, so I would literally be in class and then go and take care of my baby, come out, and it was just like this incredible change in my life. And from there, it was just growth. Yeah.
How was it being? I mean, so young. How is it being a mom at 17?
I remember thinking, I've got this, because you don't know. You're so immature. You have not been fazed by life in that sense, where you are responsible for raising a human being, and you just don't you don't captivate the responsibility of it. I didn't have any fear. I didn't have any fear about having labor. I have no idea how I was going to raise this child. With the help of my family, we did. She's a great person. Yeah. But that was my pivotal point.
That's wild.
I was just in a bad news bear, from ages 14 to about 13 to 16.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. And then you had your second one 10 years later?
Yep.
Wow.
Yes.
That's such an incredible transformation.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to think that that's who you were and then who you are. But I love that it shines the light that people can change at any given moment. And you and I are so fortunate to be mentored and taught and impacted by Bedros, who makes that comment, that your life can change in an instant as soon as you're willing to flip the switch. And it's almost like you were at that point. And it probably was dawning on you leading to that point.
Yeah.
Like your mind was going back and forth for maybe years, knowing, because you would have been filled with so much guilt and shame. And I think that's where so many people don't understand it. So you didn't have fitness at the time, or did you have fitness at the time?
When she was born?
Right before she was born, between 13 and 16.
13 and 16, not really.
Yeah.
It was just my little videos at home, but that's it.
Yeah. And had you had a proper outlet.
Oh, for sure.
Like
Proper
it would,
outlet.
it would have changed a lot for you, but your outlet was someone else, right?
Someone else, yeah.
So, and that's where a lot of people don't understand, and they undervalue fitness. That fitness is an outlet. It's a way for us to release what it is that we're holding on to. It's a way for us to get clear-minded, for us to get a little bit more above and beyond what actually matters. And so, like, it's really cool to hear that story. And I want this to inspire either those who are young mums, might be listening to this, or know of someone. I want this story to inspire maybe that person that has a kid that is maybe doesn't know what to do. Because the beauty of what you do is you deal with complexities, but you've also been complex yourself. And you help so many kids now come to a place where they are confident. And I want to share the story of one of the kids that was bullied really badly, because you remember that day. Well, I remember that day where he'd come in and he had permanent marker written all over him, and we'd ask him like, hey, what's this all about? And he's like, well, the kids like pinned me down, they wrote all over my body, and I didn't have a chance to rub it off before I came here because it was permanent marker. And I just remember so many like just harsh words. But I believe you asked him, do you know why they did that? Did you ask him that, or was that me?
I think so.
Yeah. And I believe that one of us asked him that, and I remember the answer, and he's just like, oh, it's because that's probably what they're just angry inside. And this kid knew that, and it was amazing that he knew that. I think he was 10 at the time?
Yeah. He's
super young.
super young.
But I asked him this the other day, like, hey, how's school? And he's like, it's so much better now. And he's like coming here and he's doing his pull-ups and he's walking over and all the kids are around him, and he just like feels like he's like the business, which is cool because he's confident. And I don't want to we never want to encourage arrogance, but I want to share that story where one of the kids laughed at one of the other kids and what you did about it.
Yeah.
Can you share that?
Yeah, and even though I do have a soft spot for kids and we have a lot of fun, there is a part of it that I stress a lot of discipline to. And my voice changes, the energy changes. It's almost like a drill sergeant and they are cadets. And the reason I do that is because I want them to understand that they have the capacity to work together, to hold in whatever fatigue, a doubt that they have, and that they are able to have a voice. That's real important for me, for them to be able to know that there's a voice in there, that if they had to lead or they had to be a part of something, they can raise their voice and be confident. Okay. All of them have an opportunity to come in front of the class and offer a warm-up, guide them through a warm-up. And the warm-up is very specific. It's military cadences. The person in the front, let's say they're going to guide them through jump jacks. 1, 2, 3, and then the class, as in unison, shouts off the repetitions. 1. Okay, so I said, who would like to lead today's warm-up? And one boy raised his hands. First time. And I said, what would you like to lead them through? Mountain climbers? Do you know how to do mountain climbers? And he said, no, I don't. One other kid called him something under his breath. And the boy said, he just called me a name. And I said, what'd he call you? And he said, you could tell he didn't want to tell me. What did he call you? Stupid. And I said, whoa, everyone here, let me tell you something. And they know that when I stop the class and I'm going to give a message, and I said, everybody here is a student. Everybody here, no one here knows it all. Some of you are better than others. Some of you are faster than others. Some of you are slower than others. But this is very, very similar to life. You are always going to come across someone who's better, smarter, richer than you, or you are, the one who's better, stronger, richer. It doesn't matter. You will always be better or beneath. But that is what we do here. We are humble. We are humble because we don't know it all. You will never reach that part where you know it all. And if you do, then you are clearly not there if you think you've made it. And so the message I wanted to give them is that they are allowed here to make mistakes. And no one is to bully them or insult them because they don't know the answer. That was my first message. The second one, I wanted that boy to know he was supported, that the issue was handled.
Nice.
And I don't care who heard and whose feelings were hurt in the process, because we're all a team, right? And then they also, if one person messes up, we all pay. In other words, we will all do something rigorous because of that one person. Because I want them to know that their influence, their energy, their input, whatever, affects everyone else. And so at the end, when I turn off the music and my voice changes and I always finish with, "That understood?" And they all, shout, "Yes, coach." That's what I want them to remember.
Yeah.
But then once that incident is over, it's over. It's forgotten. I'm back to my, "All right, guys, let's," and I make sure that the kid who was being mean understands that was a mistake. And it's over. Don't do it again. And then the kid that was, in this case, affected, I wanted him to know he was supported.
Yeah.
And that I'm in the middle. I'm just neutral, making sure that they understand both aspects of it. So that's how I handled it.
I love it.
Yeah.
But let's talk about why and how you learned how to handle it like that. Like, where did you learn that?
Oh, well, that was through a police academy. So in my 20s, when my oldest, was 6, I decided to go to police academy, and I really wanted to become a police officer. To this day, I feel like I'm a police officer at heart. And whatever I learned in the police academy, I never let it go. Never let it go. Not the discipline, not the exercise, none of it. And what we would do in the police academy is very similar to what I do with the kids here. That everything is done together. If one person makes a mistake, we all pay, that type of thing. You are responsible for your actions. You are responsible for your integrity. Your integrity or lack thereof will affect the entire department. That type of thing is something that we learned. And I mean, it was really drilled into us. Everything that we did together. If one person made a mistake, we all paid. If, one person, did something great, we all were supported in that sense. So that's where it came from. Again, I'm attracted to that type of discipline, that type of adversity. And so it was just something that stuck with me. And, after the police academy, I never let it go. Meaning I was always out running. There was a big period of my life where I just went on, I'm going to go on a 16-mile run. I'm going to go on, running was a big part of police academy. And so I did a bunch of marathons, half marathons, Ironmans, all of that, just kind of created my character in the fitness sense. But where it all came from, I think it would have to be the police academy, where now I teach those principles to them.
Yeah.
Not just in the warm-up, but how who they are affects the people around them.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, I mean, just in this last, 30 minutes or so, we've unpacked so much from your healing to who you used to be, who you are, the kids, all these things. And one part that we haven't quite touched on is how old you are, which is it
49.
49. And so, but what most people don't realize is that you were once pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What was the heaviest you were ever?
I would say 170.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how much weight have you lost since being where are you at right now?
142.
Okay. So for someone that is that's happened as you aged.
Yeah.
Like you were heavier when you were younger. You're now coming up to 50. I want to know how that feels, because you probably know of a lot of women, and I know of a lot of women that are coming up to that age, and they're like, holy moly, everything's going to go out the window.
Yeah.
What are you feeling, given that you've been there, you've lost 30 pounds? What are you feeling, and tell me about that last 30 pounds.
It's been, several years since that. I would say about 15 years since I was that heavy. But to that point from now, I've fluctuated. What I'm feeling now is now more than ever, that self-awareness is huge. There's something that you taught me when we first started, our business relationship. The first thing that you taught me was that if there's a part of the body that is hurting in one of our athletes, it's typically not there. There's a backstory to it. And then that same lesson transitioned to, if you're, when you would coach me in nutrition, teach me about nutrition, even in my own, if there's something not right in your nutrition, it isn't, this one aspect. There are several layers that you have to peel. Yeah. Okay, then that transitioned to my day. That same lesson you would now taught me in my schedule. If there's something that's not happening in your day, go back to when you woke up and see what happened?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's kind of like my mechanism now. You know, it's the way how I process things. Okay, if this isn't going right, there must be something in my backstory or in my situation. So I think in my now almost 50s, that perspective, that self-awareness, you know, just looking at things from an outside perspective has been and will continue to be the key. Because if something isn't right, if I'm not happy with my body image, the way I look, feel, or whatever, something's not right. And I have to have the integrity, the self-discipline to go either get help, get someone to help me, or figure it out on my own. Ignorance or just not caring is what will lead me to the years that people say, when you're 50, you lose this. And you lose this. This goes downhill. And that may be to a certain extent, but you know, my plan is to be ahead of the clock. Just always ahead of the clock. And to me, that means training hard, lifting heavy. I'm not afraid I'm going to get, you know, super big and bulky, you know, and eating well and moving well, taking care of my body. That for the longevity. I want to be able to do this, you know, sport and lifting until I can't anymore, you know? And so what it feels like now is a lot more in control and a lot more knowledge and tools. Like I didn't have that in my 30s. I ate healthy, but obviously I didn't. I was active but not healthy. I was overweight. I didn't know how to put my plate together. I didn't know what macros were. I didn't know how to work out, you know? I thought running 17, 16 miles, which is fine, was it, but it wasn't. And so I think going into, you know, my 5th decade, you know, having a process, having the discipline, having a routine, those are all things that I've learned in the past 5 years. It's just happened, you know, and it was through, you know, in big part meeting you, like helping me formulate what a routine is, you know, what, you know, my macros are in relation to what I do, my age and my body type and all of that. And now going into my 50s, I feel like I have a better understanding of, you know, what to do, that self-awareness. So that's how I feel. I feel like I have tools, I have drive, I have the discipline in place, I have the routine in place, I have the desire. Like I really want, you know, to be the best version of Sharon that I can. Like I feel like I owe life a lot. I owe for all the mistakes I've made, a lot of time lost. And I have so much to give to the people outside of this gym and this gym. And that's my intention, you know. This is a position of service, 100%. I've said this to you before, that's how I see it. This is a position of service. I am here to make others better. And I cannot do that if I don't make myself better. So that's how I feel in my 50s. I'm like ready to change body composition a little bit more. You know, some people say, you look fine. Yeah, but that's the problem, where fine is okay. No. And it's not only for aesthetics reasons, it's for I have to put myself through different challenges, discipline, and adversity so I can stay strong, mentally strong, because I think that as you age, I know as you age, your self-doubt goes down. You don't think you're as useful, right? Or that you don't have what it takes to continue, but you do. You know, look at all my experience that I've turned into something positive, and now I can give back to, you know, this place and the kids and the adults as well. And I think if you view it that way, then you start feeling a sense of purpose. Once you start losing your sense of purpose, that's because your eyes are set on something else. You're experiencing jealousy, you're looking at other people, and you have to ask yourself, is that what I want? Do I want what they have? Well, what am I doing to get there? And you focus on the jealousy, you focus on the self-doubt, and then you start to lose sight of who you are. And that's what happens when you get older. You lose sight of who you are and the talents you've been given and the purpose that you have. And if you do not have self-awareness, that's such a cliche word, but it's true. If you don't have it or you don't have the desire, you will live on auto, and you will always, you'll be left behind looking at the people that are going ahead of you, and you're like, I don't have what it takes anymore. I can't do that anymore. I'm old. I've lost hope. That's where I don't want to be, so I just fight and fight and fight and fight and fight and fight the clock. And a lot of people are going through difficult battles worse than me, so what I'm saying may not work for them, but that's what works for me. I do not want to go into my 50s and 60s thinking that I am not useful anymore.
Yeah.
And fitness is where I find my strength in other areas too, but this is a big part of it.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I think that that's going to help so many people to understand, like, you don't have to slow down. You just, I think acceptance is huge. Accepting where you are.
Yep.
But in a way that's like empowering, right? Like, and you said it, people think like, yeah, you look fine. And it's not about looking fine.
No.
It's about how you feel. When you look at yourself, do you see fine or do you see like it's not good enough? And you should have that desire where you're not satisfied,
right.
but in a healthy manner. Like, be unsatisfied with yourself in a manner that is going to push you to go forward, and it's going to empower you to try harder, not in a way that's going to bring you down.
Right.
So you get to choose, and that's the beauty of using that, of using like it's not quite where I want to be, and that's actually what's going to drive you forward. So I think that's huge for you. I feel like it's just going to be so good for other people.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've kind of like gone in so many different places, and I really hope that this has been helpful for people who maybe are experiencing something similar or know someone that's experiencing something similar. So if they are, please share this. And I want to try and give everybody a way to reach you. Obviously, everyone can reach you at Athletics, but if you want to reach Sharon directly, you've got 2 ways on Instagram, which would be
Sharon Performance Coach and Athletics Kids.
Yep. Sweet. So you can reach her there, guys, if you are interested, either for your kids, for yourself, for someone that you know. But this is such an incredible lesson that she's now giving everybody, which is, I mean, hard for you, but great for them, because you can learn just as much through someone else's mistakes as you can through your own, if you choose to go that route. So thank you so much for sitting here and chatting and sharing all of the crazy stuff. If you guys have a specific question about her past, I need you to ask her, because she's got some good ones. So, all right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Sharon. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.